Kakadosh Boker or Beki'im Bahalacha 6, Siman 167, the Kuf Samech Zayin. We are going to be Halacha Zayin. This is day 90. Okay, so Halacha 7, page 214. Okay, we're going to be speaking about today the proper size of the slices. Yeah? Can you close the door, please? So he says like this. Yeah, proper Torah etiquette dictates that a host must not slice a loaf into pieces smaller than a kazait, since he would then appear to be stingy toward his guests. Meaning, imagine right now you come to my house, I come and I cut you a little tiny piece of bread. You're gonna say, "I well, you could hardly even it doesn't even get here." In a sense, so what? It looks stingy, so you shouldn't cut less than a kazait. Likewise, one must not slice off a piece larger than a kabetza, which is double, right, for himself, since the gives the appearance that he's going to be a gluttonous eater. Meaning he's going to come, he's going to a huge piece. He looks like a gluton. Yeah, a glutton. Fine. During Shabbat meals, however, it is proper to cut a chunk of bread larger than a kabetza. Does not appear to be a glutton, since it's commendable to eat large quantities and not on Shabbat. So if he's on Shabbat, yeah, go for it. Yeah? Okay. The Raman, the Mishabra ruled that whether on Shabbat or weekdays, if someone is hosting guests and reciting a mutzi on their behalf, he should cut a large section of the loaf so that he could then slice from it for each person. Since he says the beracha on their behalf, he should give each of them a piece of the first section that he slices from the loaf. Right? Therefore, when hosting many guests and reciting a mutzi on behalf of everyone, one should make sure to cut a section of the bread large enough to be divided among all those participating in the meal. Meaning, some people, they actually do that. I don't know if you actually saw that they'll come and they'll cut this way. And then, right, yeah, Ba'emsa, in the middle. And then they cut, and then they give. Because that was the piece that they cut for everybody. You understand? That means everyone's coming and getting from that piece. Or what they'll do is that they have the loaf, they'll cut in the middle of the loaf, and then this entire part, they'll cut from here. Because basically that was where he started cutting.
The loaf is like this. You're saying they cut it this way?
That way. And then they start cutting like this.
But is it that place the crustiest place?
Well, yes, technically. Well, anyway, the top part is the crustiest place. The top.
Not the corner?
That is the corner.
On the top of the...
You have the bread this way. So when you cut this way, the top part is the crustiest part. And you cut downwards.
When it's...
Yeah, you cut like this. And then you put it and then and then you're giving it all out. Some people do that. Yeah, let's see. 168, footnote. Shulchan Aruch states that one must not cut a small slice of bread so the host, right, does not appear to be stingy. Yeah, without giving, yeah, you're listening? Yeah, without giving any indication of the minimum size permitted. It is the levush who specified that the slice must not be smaller than a kazait. Rav Zalman, however, wrote that one may cut a piece of bread as a kazait and still not be considered stingy. He testified that this is a common custom. See also Piskei Teshuvot. Nevertheless, the words of the Rama appear to agree with the interpretation appearing in the Mishnah Berurah. The Kaf HaChaim also wrote one should cut a piece larger than a kazait. Okay, but that's also a Piyah. Yes. Okay, what about cutting a large chunk and then slicing it? The Mishnah Berurah remarked that the prohibition against cutting a larger slice larger than kazait applies only if the person bites into the large chunk. This does not apply if someone is cutting a section of the loaf and then cuts smaller slices for every single person. But then he doesn't look like a gluten. The Ketzot Shulchan took issue with this ruling, arguing that it does not agree with the Ramah's instructions. Instead, it's necessary to slice a piece of bread no longer than a kabetza, larger than a kabetza, sorry, right, in order to taste it. The Halacha Berurah concurred with a stringent view. But the Rabbi Bitan feels nonetheless that the Mishnah Berurah is correct. Okay? So you're going to cut a larger section of the loaf so you could, okay, fine. This is the Mishnah Berurah. So again, you had the Ketzot Shulchan, you had the Halacha Berurah, but you also have the Mishnah Berurah. Okay? The Arizal, however, taught, right, specifically, that regardless of how many people there are, right, the host should first cut a slice for himself and taste it. And only then he cuts slices for the loaf for the others present. So the first thing that you could do is cut for yourself a piece, and then you could cut downwards. Yeah? Yeah. Look at number 170 in the footnote. Slicing bread for Shabbat meals. Okay? So he comes and he says as follows. According to the opinion of the Ramah and the Mishnah Berurah, it's a mitzvah to eat from the piece cut first from the loaf, following the blessing of the motzi. Therefore, when eating each Shabbat meals, one must first cut a section from the large loaf, enough to distribute pieces for everybody else at the table. In fact, one should cut a large section enough to distribute a piece larger than a kabetzah to each of the people. Since on Shabbat there's no issue of appearing glutinous, it's incorrect to cut off a single slice from the loaf, taste it, and then cut more slices, right, for the other people. Why? If you do that, and then the other people, they miss out on the mitzvah, right? They would be eating from the remaining part of the loaf. These poskim, right, notwithstanding the Kavakim Sofer right, that the Arizal taught in Shara Kavanot that a person who says Beracha Motzi should cut a piece large as a kizai for the loaf and taste it. After, he should cut a larger piece from the loaf for his wife. The Arizal made no mention about cutting a large section from the loaf and then cutting smaller pieces from it. It's obvious that he ruled that one should first cut a slice for himself and then for the others. So basically, it comes out that it's going to be a machloke between the Halacha and the Kabbalah. According to the Mishnah Berurah, right, you want that when you're making the bracha, that bracha, and when you're going to cut, it should be for everybody. So how do you make it chalo on everybody? That you're going to cut a piece that's going to be for everybody. So one of the ways I just told you how to do it, right? That you cut it in the middle, and by cutting it down the entire middle, the entire challah was meant to be cut for a motzi. So now when you're cutting smaller pieces, right, everybody is part of that bracha. But according to that Oziel HaKadosh, first you cut a piece, you eat for yourself, a larger piece you give to your wife, right? And then you cut for everybody else. But then they don't get, right, this, how do you call this?
From that first piece that you take for yourself, from that first piece, you also have to give to your wife from that same.
No. It's another piece. Another different piece.
What's yours is yours. So then you don't need to cut in the middle.
According to that Oziel, no.
You cut multiple. There's two different things people do. Do you cut after you give to your wife? Do you cut one slice by and just whatever? Do you cut like 5, 6 slices and start handing them out? Or
5, 6. You continue going.
Okay, so it's not like one at a time. You cut, you give, you cut, you give.
No.
Okay.
You cut, and then yeah, fine. The next last halacha number 8, reciting a motzi and breaking the bread. The text of a motzi, the correct text of the blessing of a motzi lechem min haaretz. Right, that's the proper thing. Now, if someone said motzi instead of ha-motzi, right, he still fulfilled his obligation, does not have to say the bracha again. Look in number 171. Tanaim debated the issue, but the brighter side in the Gemara Merachot. Chachamim taught that the preferred text is going to be ha-motzi lechem min haaretz. Yeah, whereas the Nehemiah taught it was motzi. Rava explained that even the Chachamim agree that motzi is valid, right? Because again, it's past tense, it's fine. The debate is, should you say ha-motzi, which is going to be the present tense, right, as well. So he says the conclusion of Talmud and the discussion is that the halacha follows the opinion of the Chachamim, and even the text of Hamotzi is valid for the blessing, right? So he says one might wonder if so why do we prefer Hamotzi? If we would use the text Motzi, so it's going to be valid even according to everybody. So the Tosfot, right? They bring a Talmud Yerushalmi answering that Hamotzi is preferable since the preceding word is Ha'olam, so it's ha, right? Because then it finishes with an M, and then the next word would start with an M, and then it would become very problematic. One more time. What do? Elokeinu melech haolam motzi.
Hamotzi.
So that's why we do hamotzi, because you don't want to do haolam. A lot of people, right? They don't realize that they make these mistakes. I've heard it like this. Ani Hashem Lokechem Asher Hotzeti Etchem Meretz Yitzrayim.
Exactly.
I only did one mem. You only did one M. Asher Hotzeti Etchem Meretz Yitzrayim.
There's several places in the
Many places, right? So therefore, a person has to be careful. Yimloch, exactly. Right? So therefore, it's very important that the person pays attention that you have to, it's 2 different letters. You have to put a pasek, and then you have to make sure that you're going to, right? Why? Because if not, you said one mem. Another one, bechol levavecha, bechol nafshecha, bechol modecha, bechol levavecha. I only did one L. So what do you have to do? bechol levavecha uvchol nafshecha. You have to do bechol levavecha. You have to, why? Because it's not bechol levavecha. I did one L. One lamed for two. Two for one.
Means something, no?
Which one?
When you put before, it means something like in shishi, you know.
No, that's ha. That's another mistake. A lot of, especially by French, right? The French, they make a big mistake that they don't pronounce the hey. Right? So therefore, since they don't pronounce the hey, right? There's no, they don't realize even there's a hey. You don't know how many times I've said, like, they just don't pronounce it. It's a hey. You have to say the hey, right? Yeah, hashishi. Another yom hashishi. Hashishi.
We don't say that.
So okay. That's yom hashishi. Yeah. It's v'yitz harecha, not v'yitz arecha. The best is Hashem malach ki ulavesh. Hashem malach ki ulavesh. Adonai malach ki ulavesh. Lavesh Adonai oz itazar. Avtikonte ve'batimon nachon kizcha me'az me'olam ata naseu ne'arot. Adonai naseu ne'arot kolam. Yisu ne'arot dochya mikolot. Ma'im rabim adir. I didn't do, no, but I didn't do one hey in the entire time. One more time. Pay attention. Right?
That's what we all do it.
So I'm showing you that it's wrong. Right? Not dikduk, it's aleph bet. It's hey, the letter hey. Hey. What's the difference between an aleph and a hey? Hey, you have to take out the breath. It's not passive. The aleph, no, you don't have to do with the dagesh. You don't have to do with the mapike. Without a mapike, yeah, it was without the mapike. But I'll show it to you one more time. Hashem malach lavesh Adonai oz. What's the next word? Hitazar. Right? What do they do? Itazar. Avtikonte ve'batimon nachon kizcha me'az me'olam ata naseu neharot. How do they do it? Neharot. Hashem naseu neharot kolam. Yisu neharot kolam. What is it? Neharot. You know what neharot are? Maidens, women. The young women are called. Neharot is a nahar. A nahar, right, is a hay. Huh? That's the way it is.
I said I didn't go to Jewish school.
Fine, so I'm teaching you. That's why he's here. Okay, that's another way to be. Another way to be. It's better not to. That is better not to. Fine. Tosafot pointed out that this does not solve the problem entirely. Everyone agrees that the text of the blessing includes the words lechem min. So the same beracha still does lechem min haaretz. Meaning, if you're going to add hamotzi, just instead of saying motzi, just because you didn't want to do aolam motzi, so what about min haaretz? Lechem min, right? Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. I did one M. Again, you still have it. You have to do lechem min haaretz. Pasek. Yeah, but Bahaki is very famous today, even though you don't hear him. Right? But fine.